entry points. When somebody rises up with a grand new idea, the way it's either co-opted, you know, like, oh, let's assume, for the sake of argument, that the Occupy movement started as an organic expression of somebody, you know, somebody said, let's do this. 10 people, 4 people. You saw right away where it was co-opted. You know what I mean? Or other media forces tried to disclaim it and distance. And those are the ways that the media sort of tries to take things that they can't control and put it in a box. And then they start to write the articles. What does this mean? Bloomberg comes out and says, Occupy New York is bad for business. So the common person says, oh, that's hurting us. Well, in the greater expression of freedom, maybe it's a good thing that we're having this dissent. Maybe the small downside of blocking traffic or something in the greater whole is a necessity.
Exactly. I mean, if America, 5% of the world population, developed half the wealth because it had more freedom than anybody else, not that we were perfect, then how is it bad that people are exercising their liberty? Even if they don't have all the answers, at least they're trying to get involved. So the real question is, why is Bloomberg demonizing it?
Or the way Homeland Security coordinated to try to take down everybody's protests, you know? I think those are all a really big red flag.
Why are they so scared of people even exercising their First Amendment?
That's a really, that's a question I don't have the answer for. I think it's one of those things where you can only look at the reaction to gauge that there must be really something vital going on, or there wouldn't have been such there wouldn't have been such a violent reaction against the Occupy movement if what the Occupy movement was representing as a whole wasn't threatening to somebody. You know, and that's why they try to sort of categorize it down into boxes. It's bad for business. It could lead to violence. It hasn't yet, but it might. You know, this kind of implied nuance. Yet, it was mostly just a bunch of people in tents, you know. And I particularly didn't agree with all of the Occupy message. I'm not here to wave the flag for it. I think there's certain aspects of troubling aspects about it, particularly the idea of wealth distribution. You know, in my particular instance, you know, I came from a family that didn't have anything. Everything I've earned in life, I made myself with songs that I wrote. So when somebody starts talking about how I've got to give to somebody that didn't do that, well, that's a deeper conversation. It doesn't mean I don't have a social concern. It doesn't mean I don't want to contribute to charities. It doesn't mean I don't want to help my fellow man.
But if you look at Austin, where I live, all these young kids of middle class or wealthy, they don't appreciate anything on average because it was all given to them. And again, America's not been perfect, but it's been better than most other systems because it was an avenue that allowed your natural gifts to be expressed. Whereas in an old world model, it was completely shut down by the elite. And that's what I found, is that you have these crony capitalists who are really anti-free market, anti-libertarian ideas, and they basically are trying to get a big government system so that they have government power to shut down their competition.
I think it's a really valid point. I can only speak from my perspective as an artist because, you know, there's different terms that you can use. You know, outlier is one of them. You know, if you exist sort of outside of a given system, and I've been in the system, I've been outside the system, and now I'm probably standing right on the edge of the system. It's, you know, like you and I were talking about it today. I did this thing at South by Southwest where I gave an hour talk with an author who's an expert in social media. He's written this book. Brian Solis is his name. We had a 1-hour discussion in front of 1,500 people, and the headline reads, Billy Corgan rants. You know what I mean? I don't understand how that's a rant. An hour discussion, a sober discussion with 2 intelligent people about a very complex set of ideas, opinions included. That's not a rant. But that's that kind of language that gets encoded in. Don't be too smart. Don't step outside. Don't stand for anything. And I think what I really see with young people now is they're responding to passion. And so us as people getting a little older in life, we have to help direct that passion. And what I love, for me, when you really hit the right target is when you talk about liberty and what liberty really means, the responsibility of liberty, the responsibility of freedom. It's not just this utopian anarchy. We have a responsibility to each other. What is that responsibility? Well, that should be an open debate. What is your responsibility as a man, as a parent, as a citizen of Texas, to your community, to the people who work here in your business? What is your responsibility? You have to address all those things. You have to openly debate them within your own mind, and then you're enough of a humanitarian or an insane person or whatever. You want to take those ideas into the marketplace to be bandied about. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. You know, even if I disagreed with 99% of what you were saying, I agree with why you believe in what you're doing. I agree with many things you say, but what I really respect is that you're willing to put yourself into the center of that argument and make that, because that is what our country is supposed to be about. Our country is supposed to be about innovation, supposed to be about intelligence. We're supposed to be the, even what was it, old Bush, we're the beacon on the hill. Okay, well, are we the beacon on the hill? Well, we should be.
Instead, we become a beacon for torture and empire and lies and propaganda. How did we go from, on average, putting out, you know, the most informed people, the most patents, innovation, trailblazing? I mean, the world said, wow, America's it, to now the world says, man, this is where the evil comes from.
I don't know. I mean, you know, you can make an argument that, if you want to put the evil in quotations, that the evil's been there all along. You know, we engaged in slave trade at some point. At some point, we took advantage of the Native Americans. We broke treaties. You know, as you said, we haven't been perfect. We're a rolling big ball of dust, like peanuts. You know, like Linus. You know.
I think that's it. I think it's that we've been good and evil, and because we've been powerful, when we do shine, it's wonderful. But when we're dark, it's very, very bad.
Yeah, I think it's a dark time, and I think. You know, as somebody who listens, you know, what we all need to do is we need to start looking at what success looks like. You know, you use the term Infowar, you know, right? So what is victory in the Infowar? Right now, at some point, just resisting seems like victory because there's so little dissent. It's shocking. If you and I could go back in a time machine to the 1960s when people were protesting what they were protesting,